Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Conshohocken Brewing and Asher's Chocolate Company. This is chocolate peanut butter autumn ale. I can get down with that. I like me some chocolate. Even though it says ale, it's kind of weird. I would hope it'd say like porter or stout or something along those lines. But Asher's Chocolate Company, chocolate peanut butter autumn ale. So, it's been a while since I've done a Conshohocken beer. Full disclosure, this actually comes from a marketing company. I don't know if the marketing company services Conshohocken or Asher's. I believe it might be Asher's, but it probably is both. They reached out and I said, hey, we have a peanut butter cup beer. We would like to send you some. Can we send you some? I said, yes. They sent me some. And they sent me some chocolates. They sent me more than just one chocolate. Okay? But, my wife ate some, I ate some, and I wanted to save at least one peanut butter cup because I'm going to eat this. I'm going to eat this in conjunction with this beer because I think that's the way to go here. But I'm going to wait to the end because this is going to overpower anything that's going on in this beer, so we'll see what's what. Anyway, so yeah, I figured I'd give it a whirl, see what's what, and yeah, let's dive into it. I already said Asher's Chocolate Company, Conshohocken Brewing, Peanut Butter Autumn Ale. It says here, brewed with cacao, peanut, pumpkin, vanilla, and lactose. So it's a pumpkin beer, technically. Can we get an ABV on this sucker? Yes, 6.4%, so not super ultra high in ABV. Label is alright. It reminds me of something. Another brewery's can. It has nothing to do with peanut butter or anything like that, but maybe Aislinn. Their kind of can, so maybe this kind of graphic down here, something about it just kind of reminds me of something else. So anyway, we're going to dive into it, see what's what. So you're talking about 6.4%. It's basically a pumpkin peanut butter. Did not expect that color. Okay, this is kind of weird. You know, you think of a chocolate peanut butter beer, you kind of expect something that's going to be dark. So this is kind of throwing me for a loop. It kind of makes sense that it's called an ale now as opposed to like a stout or a porter or something like that. But even with this like low ABV, it just weirded me out. Anyway, so yeah, what does that look like? It looks like an old school English beer, to be perfectly honest with you. It looks like a shilling ale. Looks like almost like a Oktoberfest Marzen kind of looking beer, just barely off white head. Actually closer to khaki. What am I saying? And just that, just soft, kind of hazy, kind of, you know, oolong tea kind of thing going on here. So curious about this nose. Malt. Sweet malt, peanut butter is the number one star of the show here. So you're getting peanut butter. You're getting a soft confectionery sweetness, lactose vibes, very gentle. A sweet maltiness done and done. There's really not much here as far as bittering goes. Or at least a precursor to bittering. Hops or roasted malts or anything along those lines. It smells nice and sweet, but almost like an incomplete beer. That's kind of how it comes off for me. But it definitely smells like peanut butter. Soft little kind of chocolate vanilla thing going on, like I said, that little lactose adding to that. Not really getting much as far as pumpkin. Now, if there's pumpkin added to this beer, and there's not pumpkin spice added to it, pumpkin's just going to add a mouthfeel, maybe a skosh of sweetness. All the pumpkininess of pumpkin beers come from spices, and with this saying, you know, pumpkin, vanilla, and lactose, I assume they just added pumpkin to it for a mouthfeel component, which would make sense because this is actually what pumpkin beers look like. Maybe I should have said that at the get. Curious. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. Yeah, it doesn't really... The weirdest part about the beer is it doesn't really come off as... And maybe I'm thinking about this in the wrong way. I think I am. Because my knee-jerk reaction is, I'm not getting a huge amount of peanut butter in here. There's peanut butter, but it's not gigantic. I'm not getting a huge amount of chocolate in here. It's there. Again, not that gigantic. Zero pumpkin spices, so I wouldn't really expect much of pumpkin to be there. There is this kind of cool mouthfeel to it. a little bit of kind of vanilla, marshmallowy, confectionery, lactose kind of thing to it. Again, not huge. And there's kind of like maybe the slightest bit of bittering to it. I assume is a hop component. And then the base malt of the beer. So when I see a peanut butter chocolate beer with pumpkin and lactose, I kind of expect those things to jump out and wring my neck. You know, like chocolate on top of peanut butter. And it's not here. And it originally hit me, I'm like, yeah, I'm not really getting these. I'm getting them, but they're very, very subtle. But now that I think about it, and this is where I think it kind of makes more sense, is that it's low ABV, 6 and change, right? Was it 6.1? 6.4. Low ABV. You know, all these flavors are subtle. It is an ale. You know, it is kind of like generic ale. Shilling ale is almost what it's like. So it's almost exactly what the beer is telling me. I just assume in today's kind of crazy confectionery world it would be over the top. The only issue I would have, or no, I would say more than just one issue, but the issues I have with the beer is that this is a collaboration beer between a brewery and a chocolatier. And I want the brewery to bring their A game, and I want the chocolatier to bring their A game, or at least have the chocolatier's A game represented in the beer with the beer's A game. And it comes off a bit ho-hum. It comes off a bit kind of basic. I don't think that's an overtly negative thing. Like, as a drinking beer. Bringing a 4-pack of this to a Halloween party, to Thanksgiving, to a Christmas party, I think there's actually a large swath of people who aren't maybe huge beer people that could really be like, I kind of really like this. And that's where this kind of jumps the shark a little bit in terms of beer nerddom, you know. And I fall, you know, I fall for this myself. Is that when you call out these kind of components, basically what I said previously, beer and herbs, beer nerds, just assume you're bringing the heat. You know, you're throwing a fastball with these ingredients. And this is a much more very subtle, much more very delicate side of that. And I think it makes for better beer. Dare I say it? An actual better beer. Like all those other, you know, beers that are like just teed up to the nines with adjuncts to where all you taste is peanut butter and chocolate on top of lactose and pumpkin and spices and cream. There's no beer to be had. It's just all these adjunct flavors, and it just happens to be in a can that says beer on it. This is the opposite of that. This is actually a beer. It's a beer. It's a legitimate actual beer with those adjuncts incorporated into it. Which is wild. It's an absolutely wild. And I don't mean this as a negative. I don't mean this as kind of like a slight towards Conshohocken. It tastes like homebrew. And I don't mean that, I promise I don't mean that as like just making fun of Conshohocken. It reminds me of homebrew in a sense that the person who makes it is very, very much wanting to make beer. You know, like they understand the BJCP guidelines. They're trying to make something that is true to what BJCP, you know, peanut butter chocolate pumpkin beer with lactose is not in the BJCP guidelines. I understand this, but they're trying to make beer first and foremost, and I lost my train of thought. But they want to add these kind of fun adjuncts to it. That's how it kind of comes off to me. I can kind of appreciate that. I really can. I'm not going to lie to you. But in the grand scheme of things, listen. If you're an ultra beer nerd who's just like cares about like hype and waiting in the lines and wants like just diabetes in a can with all kinds of craziness, I don't think this is going to foot the bill for you. I really don't. It has much more to do with a pumpkin beer than there's no pumpkin spice in it, as far as its vibrance and expressiveness and what it's trying to accomplish, more than a crazy adjunct chocolate dessert beer. But as far as Probably one of the more delicate, and I mean that in a positive sense, delicate, more letting the beer shine while adding crazy adjuncts to a beer. It's probably one of the better representations of that. So that in and of itself makes it a fun beer. It's a fun beer. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Well, listen, y'all know I get random beer from all over the place all the time. I don't say nice things, just say nice things. If I don't like something, I'm going to say I don't like it. But there's something about this beer that intrigues me. And I think that is what it is. I think I've really boiled it down to like almost like a fault in the bloodline of the craft beer nerd that needs to have the adjuncts in beers be cranked to the max and obliterate all traces of beer so you're drinking dessert syrup as opposed to an actual beer with several hints of the adjuncts in there. I think that's a cool take. Is it going to be the popular take? Is it going to be, the take that does all kinds of crazy? No. But I think it's fun. I like it. I'm going to eat this piece of candy now. Full disclosure, I have eaten this piece of candy before, so I'm not going into this blind. But I don't know where Asher's is. I assume they're close to Conshohocken. So I'm basically eating a mini peanut butter cup. And like I said, I crushed it so you can see how it's made. That is the good stuff. Because listen, I'm team Reese's. Reese's Pieces is a staple in my family. But I'm also a real peanut butter cup person. And that's a real peanut butter cup. Not to step on Asher's vibes. But growing up in northeastern Pennsylvania, we had we had Gertrude Hawk's chocolate, and that's what reminded me of their smidgens. So good. Actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. Maybe I should eat that chocolate with this beer because it's pairing quite well. I thought the sweetness of that chocolate would obliterate everything about this beer being sweet, but this beer isn't over the top sweet. So, eating this chocolate, now I want some more. Eating this chocolate, now eating this beer, or drinking this beer, it makes a lot of sense. Because since this beer isn't leaning heavily into those adjuncts, it's letting a lot of the less sweeter parts of the beer kind of come forward. Ends up being more like an ESB than anything else. That's a really cool pairing. So now, here's the thing. There was no sheet. There's usually sheets in these boxes when they send you beer like this. Like, I get like it came in. They usually send you, it comes in this fancy box with, you open up the box and it has all kinds of papers in it and stuff like that. But there's usually a sheet kind of explaining their kind of ethos or their explanation of what they're trying to do with the beer and all that kind of stuff. Don't need it, but if they would have said eat the chocolate with the beer, I think that's the way to go. If you want to have a fun experiment now, and this is where this beer kind of shines, get yourself this, if you're going to pick this up, or you have this, get some of that actual chocolate, those little peanut butter cups, eat them along with the beer. It's by far and away the best experience. It turns that beer into something a little bit more bittering, a little bit more not sweet, even though it wasn't sweet to begin with, and just pairs infinitely better with the actual chocolate. So, there you go. Review in the books. Is it one of the better peanut butter chocolate beers that I've had as late? No. Is it one of the funner beers? Yes. Is it one of the better pairings of chocolate and beer I've had quite some time? Absolutely, 100%. Value availability? Don't know. And leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like experimenting with beer, you'll dig this. Conshohocken, Asher's, have you had their beers? Have you had their chocolate? All that fun stuff down there. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying some beer right now. I'll see you next time. Cheers.